As we sit here tonight, we call upon the sacred light of Source, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We call upon our spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, light beings, and galactic guides, our ancestors, nature spirits, and animal guides. We invite in Archangel Michael, Nrsimha, and Hanuman, as well as the energy of Phi and the sacred spider to weave its web of geometry around the space for protection. We call upon Ganesh to open the path, and we call upon Thoth to open the gates to the Akashic records. Spirit guides tonight, we also call on Mary Magdalene. Mary, in this journey tonight, we ask to connect with you and your wisdom. Our intention is to ask you to show us how we can connect other people to you for divine feminine healing. How can we activate this connection, deepen the connection? Please show us how you would like us to work with your energy in connecting other people to it. How you want your knowledge to be shared, and anything else you would like us to know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, the sacred circle is now open. Namaste. So right away, I'm having this weird moment of getting information, and then it just came like crashing down. It came in really, really fast, and it was only a tiny piece of information, but the first thing that I was hearing is this dripping of water. And I'm seeing a bathtub. It's one of those old school bathtubs with the beautiful like porcelain feet and bronze faucet. And it's in this really old Victorian apartment, which feels like it's in New York City. And it's very dark. It's nighttime, and there's like a candle lit, and but it's really weird because sometimes this has happened a few times to me where like if I really, really, really let my mind go, the information is just like it floods in like really quickly. And I mean, I know we get information very quick, but it's just like I know it's really rapid, but what I was getting is the water, and then she was speaking about exactly what you were saying before in your message about the pieces of her knowledge she wants to come in drops. She doesn't want the whole bathtub filled up right away. And I think this is I think this whole scene is definitely one symbolic of water because we know she works with water. But definitely like the dropping of the water, like if you would fill a bathtub up like that, would take forever. But yes, anyway, I think this is what she's saying.
Yeah,
And I
that oh sorry.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I just want to emphasize this strange feeling of like as soon as I realized the drops and like this information of her saying like it's gonna come in drops, like it's this oxymoron of like her saying that about it being slow, but then the information came to me so rapidly. It's just strange, but I think there's something to that. So yeah, that's all for now.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. As you were talking, I could hear the sound of like a drip dropping faucet. You know, like with the faucet's not like shut off all the way and the water kind of drops. And it's interesting because I was also seeing water, but at first I saw a labyrinth from an aerial view, and it was round, and it was made of white stone, and I could see in the center there was some sort of like what looked like an altar to me, but it also could have been like a stone bench. It was hard to tell because of the perspective and how high I was up from it. But the labyrinth was on like a sort of cliff area by a sea, and I could see and hear all of the waves like washing up and hitting against the rocks, and it was just a continuous sort of slamming of the waves against the rocks. And even though we both got water and we both kind of got the same message because you're saying it was one drop at a time and that would take forever, but then it kind of wouldn't take forever because it's the same thing with the waves. It's one wave at a time, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
goes for eternity constantly, you know? And I felt like
Mm-hmm.
she was saying something about the fastness and slowness of it and the sort of distortion of that, you know? The relativeness of
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, but that water seems to be like a ticket in somehow. Um,
Yeah.
and it feels like the process of going through a labyrinth and you know there's a center in there. Like you're gonna get to the center of it, you know, but you just have to kind of trust that you can work your way through the labyrinth.
Mm.
And I'm also feeling a connection to I'm not sure what kind of animal it is exactly. Uh, I don't think it's a goat, but I think it's something similar to a goat. But I don't know what they're called, but kind of like the god Pam, where it's like half animal and half man, like a centaur, but it's definitely not a horse because it's on two legs. Um, and I'm getting him on the outskirts of the labyrinth. I feel like he's a guardian of who enters. And I can hear the sound of his, I guess it's a flute that he plays, but it's not a flute because it's all of those things like put together. like a woodwind instrument or something like that. And it's like he's playing the sound of the wind on it. And he feels like he's guarding this place, this labyrinth by the ocean. To make sure only the people that should get in are getting in. Or that it's someplace people just can't go to.
I can kind of see the center of the space, and I can feel a really beautiful warmth. I feel like there's a candle lit, but it's radiating this warmth all around the space. And I'm also seeing flowers like pink and red. And I can also hear someone singing. I feel like it's her singing, but she's like, I'm not hearing words. It's more of like it's not a humming, but something similar. Um, but the space feels it feels like a warm hug. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels really, really beautiful and soft and feminine and safe. And there's something I'm noticing, like as I'm speaking about this, is I'm getting the same feeling as when I was seeing the bathtub in this apartment. Um, like when you were describing it, I was seeing this whole thing during the day. And as I'm describing the center, I'm seeing it at night. Um, and just like in the other scene, like it's dark outside and there's just a candle lit. And it's this just really soft glow.
I definitely see it during the day, but I'm seeing a ship like out a whiles out offshore, and then there's a rowboat, and I guess the ship can't get like too close, so they have to take a rowboat. But the sea is like really, really choppy. And the rowboat is like going like up on the waves to the point where it's almost getting like filled with water and tossed about, but it's not. And I see that it's filled with a bunch of people. Well, a bunch is a strong word. Maybe there's like five, but that like basically fills a rowboat. And they have like sort of like the way like the Muslim women or will wear the headscarves up and the things up.
Mm.
Um, so I don't really get the sense of like I feel like I'm not sure if it's male or females. Um, and they're trying to row to where the labyrinth is, but it doesn't seem to be anywhere to land, because it's very rocky.
I was seeing, I'm still in this space in the center, and there's another woman with her, and the woman is lying down on the ground, and she took this dropper bottle and she dropped a few drops of oil on the woman's third eye, and then she took her finger and she like pressed it from the bottom upwards, and I could see the woman's like eyes rolling back in her well, actually both of them, their eyes rolling back in the socket as she did that. And I feel like this is one way she's asking us to to connect with her, to work with her. Um, the word oracle is really strong. Um, but to use that oil as like a conduit to really tapping into her. And then it was funny because I was thinking to myself, like you mentioned the rose oil earlier. I was going through in my head like all the little I have like three roller balls of oil, and some other oils, but I was going through them and I was like, well, I don't have any rose, but I do have lavender, but that's not rose. And she said to me, she's like, any flower will do.
Mm.
Um, so that's interesting. Um, yep, that's all for now.
As you were saying, any flower will do. I feel like I'm seeing like the tops of like flowers, and I can almost see that spiral shape that represents the sacred geometry. I think they all have that sort of,
Mm.
they all have it encoded in them, even if the rose seems a little more like the poster child of it. Like they're all
Mm.
in there.
Yeah.
And as you're saying that, I bought my wrist up and I can really smell the rose oil. But it's funny because it's making me feel suddenly very nauseous. And I feel like I'm in a really sandy colored house or like dwelling of some sort. It feels almost like reminds me of like if you ever see the depictions of how like the Native Americans lived in like the Hopi or old villages where they had these like pueblo houses. It looks like
Mm.
something like that. I don't know that it's even Native American, but has that sort of like feeling to it. And I feel like I'm in there, but I can't see who I might be because I'm seeing through my own eyes. And I feel like I'm just curled up in a sort of fetal position and I'm like I have vomited and I'm gonna vomit more. That's like what I know.
Mm.
And my stomach feels like very like funky right now.
Mm. I'm still in this space with her and the other woman, and I'm hearing her speak light language. And it's really interesting because it looks like she's doing, like, when I do my third eye clearings, it looks the same. And she's like putting her hand like in front of this woman's third eye, and she's kind of like moving it around kind of in circles or like in waves. And there's this energy. It looks just like a whole freaking galaxy of energy, but it's like this pink, shiny energy. And like I said, it just looks like galaxies or something. And she's moving it from the woman's forehead outwards. And this is it's very similar how I do my third eye, but I like pull the energy with my fingers. But it's she's just doing this like wave motion with her hand, like rolling in circles. So I'm gonna sit with it for a minute. So I'm curious, like I can't tell if she's doing like a clearing or if she's hmm, yeah, I'm still undecided. I can't tell exactly what's happening. Um I want to say she's doing some kind of clearing, but I really cannot be 100%. So I'll sit with it for a minute. But yeah, that's all for now.
I feel like I'm laying on the floor here and I can see the sort of like woven stripe blanket that I'm laying on. It's navy and white, and I can feel like I'm laying on my left hand side, and I can feel someone sort of like hovering over the right side of my face and ear. Um, and I can't make out what they're saying to me or whispering to me, but I can feel it hit my ear. Like the proximity of the breath and the sort of just the presence of someone. But it feels very gentle.
So I'm asking her about this energy and like, are you clearing or like what's going on? And she said that both the sound and the movement of her hand and wrist moving is creating this energy spiral that I was seeing of this light and galaxy. And he said, okay, well, what is the energy doing? And she said, it's holding space for one another. And not quite sure what that means yet, but that's what she was saying.
And I feel like whoever this is that's talking in my ear gave me a cup of kind of like from like a ladle or something that resembles a ladle that was dipped into this jug to drink water from. Um, and as I'm drinking the water, it's as if my like lip and mouth start growing or I start seeing in front of me. I'm not sure which one, maybe both somehow. This sort of like body of water forming. It's as if it forms out of a mouth and becomes like a lake, and then it runs into a river that goes down the throat, and the water becomes like a way to nourish the body, but it also becomes this sort of like, I don't know, it feels like an altar or something. And something that you have to live near and in front of to just just to just to because it's so necessary to life, and it helps. It's just part of surviving.
Something interesting just happened. Um, I was sitting here just listening to you, and then um, I looked back at the scene that I'm in, and I noticed that I was seeing it a little bit further away, as if I was like outside of the center of the labyrinth, but I could still see the center. And she put her hands together and bowed and nodded. Um, and then all of a sudden she looked up and she just went with the wind and just like blew me away, basically. And I ended up in this scene where I've been before when we were doing masculine healing. It was one of the first things that I saw. It's like this town, this small town, and then kind of, I would say, like in the center, there's like big trees and like an opening and houses all around. And one of them was my father's house, but um, or like a not exactly the house I grew up in, but a representation of that in a few of the journeys. Um, anyway, the point is I've been here many times, but when she blew me away into this other scene, I noticed that like I fell onto the ground and there's this black, it's black sand, but it's thicker than sand. It's really coarse. And and I can hear it like crunching as I stand up and under my feet. And so I stood up, and then the wind from all four directions came and hit me like a tornado. And I was standing there being like bombarded with all this wind from every direction. And then as I stood there, I started to scream. I was screaming like so wildly, and I was just so annoyed with this wind coming from all directions. But then I thought to myself, wait a second, I can control this. And I just took a deep breath and I put the wind back in its place. And I know that sounds strange, but that's what happened. I love when spirit is funny. So, I'm standing here in this city town center, and it's nighttime. Everything is dark except for the street lamps. And um, this man walked up to me and he handed me a ticket and my passport. And he said, here's your ticket, here's your passport, good luck. And he patted me on my right shoulder. And then all of a sudden, there's a train that came in the middle of the street. And it's funny to me because recently I was watching a scene from the Polar Express. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yeah, I love
Um,
it.
yeah, I haven't actually seen the whole thing, but I was watching this like one little clip, and it was like in the beginning where the train comes and the conductor's like all aboard, and telling the kid to get on the train. But I'm seeing this train roll up just like that, and there's the conductor hanging off, and he's like, "Are you coming?" Um, and I said, "Well, where's the train going?" Obviously, it's a magic train, just like the other one. Um, but he said the train is going to heaven, which is just really interesting to me. 'Cause, yeah,
Yeah, wow.
okay.
Oh.
Here's my ticket. I don't know. Do I get on this train?
I don't
Hmm.
know.
I'm a little interesting. But he, he's saying, he said, "Come on, just get on. It's fine. You're just going to see what it looks like." Okay then. Hmm. Oh, the conductor, he stamped the ticket, he stamped the passport, and he said, "Welcome aboard, lovely." And he like motioned me into the car. And the first car that I'm in, it's obviously very wobbly, but a little more so than just like being on a train. Feels like things are kind of something about time. I feel like time is a little warped here somehow in this first train car. And even gravity, I feel like things are floating around. And people are staring at me very hard as I get on this train. Um, it's really interesting feeling. Just yes, definitely something really off. But I know I'm passing through this car. I'm not meant to stay in this exact train car.
When I see you, you're solid, but everyone else in the car is almost translucent. Like they have a solid form, but you can
Mm,
still kind of see through them.
mm,
I feel like they may be deceased.
mm. So we get to the end of the car, and there's another, I don't know if it's the same conductor or just a train attendee. And he looks at me and he motioned me forward into the next one. And he goes, "One more to go, dear." But just from like the little, you can see like through the little window in the door into the car, I'm just seeing like fire and destruction. And I looked at him and I'm like, "You want me to go in there?" He's like, "Yeah, just go through. You'll be fine." So here we go. So I'm walking through this car, and there are people, mostly men that I'm seeing, um, with white eyes. And yeah, like you said, I feel like they are deceased. Um, and this car is just like there's like lava and fire and the black, like hardened lava. And yeah, just like a lot of destruction going on. Um, and the conductor yelled to me at one point, and he's like, "Don't touch anything." And I was like, "Okay, I won't." Um,
It's funny because in the room that I'm in, I see a small fire lit in a little thing that looks a little bit like a fireplace, but it's much smaller. And it's built into the wall across the room from where I am on the floor on the blanket, and it almost feels like the whole room is being heated up by this fireplace, and the sickness that I'm feeling is like it's like sweating me out or something like that. It's like creating this thing that kind of feels like a sweat lodge or something like that. And it makes me think of the car that you're on almost feels like a purification thing or uh
mm,
and it's interesting because I see a bowl in front of me that has eggs in it, like maybe even a dozen eggs. And there's a feeling almost of like something being like fast forwarded. Like I'm like fast forwarding to the point of, like seeing what happens after this room is heated and everything. And then I'm seeing there's like an egg and it's cut and it's like a hard boiled egg. And I felt like I don't know that the egg like I don't know, they got cooked or something. I don't know how else to describe it. Um, but I feel like the feeling in my stomach and the feeling in my body, the nausea and the feeling of sickness, was also like burnt away. And it's almost like I didn't quite realize the whole thing is being like is happening, but there's a very soft sort of music playing in the background. It has like a repetitive quality to it, but like that's also kind of like, and I'm just aware of all of a sudden the music kind of like stopped in this room, and
I got to the end of that train car, and I kind of came out, and I could tell I was like burnt, like my hair was like kind of burned, and like I was just like raggedy, my clothes and everything. And again, the conductor was there by the door, and I forget what he said, but um, something like, "You're here," you know? And then he opened the door, and I was so tired that I just like fell face first onto the, I say ground lightly because there is no ground, but and then a woman came over and helped me up, and the woman is me. Um, and again, she said something, but it just slipped through my mind. Um, but this space, like I know that I was on this train the whole time, and I feel like kind of feel like I'm still on the train, but also it's a completely different space, and it's mostly white, but also pink, cloud-like, very soft. Um, there's like a little chill in the air, actually, and it just feels very light. And as I'm describing this, like there was no one there except for this other woman who is me. But all of a sudden, as I'm describing this, I just hear people scream, "Surprise!" And then the cloud kind of dissipates. And I'm seeing like all these people. And I feel like they're ancestors. And there's hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of them. I don't know. And I know this is going to sound funny, but like there's one man in particular that I'm like focused on. And he is, oh, he's smoking a cigar. He's kind of balding, on the shorter side, a little bit chubby, dark, like the hair he does have, it's like dark black. Um, and I don't know why he's the focus, but he is um wearing this kind of brown plaid dated suit. Um, and I'm sorry, but said, he said to me, I guess because I called his suit dated, he said, he slammed his fist down on the table and he's like, "Don't talk about my suit that way." I'm sorry, but that's how it is. But he has this very soft, gentle side to him as well. And I feel like he meant what he said, but he also said it in like a, I don't know, like he understands kind of way, something like that. Whatever this man is, he's funny. He's like, he rolled his eyes and he's like, "I don't really understand, but I'm not going to beat you up for it." Okay, sir, noted. But it's kind of now this like where these people are, it's kind of dim and dark and um feels like some kind of cigar club. Um mm, I don't know, I'll sit with it for a minute and see what else I get. That was a funny man.
as you were sharing that with me, I realized that somehow I wasn't in the room anymore with the where I was feeling sick. I'm in a florist shop, and I'm specifically in this sort of like version of a walk-in case for flowers. And I can see all the buckets of the different flowers, and I'm aware of all the different colors and textures, and sort of like I can't really identify like what I'm smelling, but it just smells kind of, I guess sweet would be the right word. Um, uh, and I feel like I can just see all the buckets, so like green, dark green buckets. And there's some empty ones on the floor, and they have water in them, and this sort of freezer, not freezer, but just um like case has at the very far end, all the way to the right. It has like it's like part of the wall of the shop, and um, and I feel like there's just it's almost like a hidden door or something. Like you wouldn't have ever thought there'd be a door in there. And I feel like when I open the door, or I don't open it, but it opens really slowly. Um, it feels like a sort of underground walkway, or something like that, like
So this funny man, he stood up and he said, "Come on, let me show you around." So then we walked to the back of this place, and there was a door that was open and light was coming through. And I said, "Oh, are you taking me to the tunnel of light?" This quote unquote tunnel of light that we see when we die. And he says, "I sure am." And I said, "What is this, the Wizard of Oz?" And so he led me to the door. But then when I got to the door, there wasn't like another room. It was just this, it was like the door to the cosmos. And I'm seeing stars and energies and everything. And then I went through the door out into the space. And what's curious about the space is it's like I was stepping into jello or something. Like it was a very jello-like consistency of this cosmos. And as soon as I stepped through, I heard a male voice go, "I've got you under my thumb now." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was taken over a few feet to the right and was promptly ejected from the space back down to the center of the labyrinth with Mary and this other woman when I was first there. And I'm sitting there staring at her, covered in this jello like cosmic substance. And in that moment, I knew something which I've known, but it was like as if I'm learning it again. I looked at her, I looked at the woman she's healing, and I realized that we are all one. I am the woman she's healing, I am also her, and I am me. And we are all just, we are one. There is no separation. And right before I realized this, when I was thrown down back into the space, she looked up from the woman and she smiled at me and she said, "How was your trip?" And that's when I started to make this connection.
When you were talking all
So,
the time, oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
When you were talking, all of a sudden I saw in this place, this sort of like that happened when I opened the door. I saw a rabbit appear with a little bushy rabbit tail, and I could see his like little nose scrunching up and his whiskers going, and he was sniffing and looking at me, but his eyes were like not exactly like rabbit eyes. They seemed like human eyes or something. And he kind of would like hop. I was like started to head down the hall, but I felt myself in the door hesitant or something. I don't know why I feel hesitant, but I do.
what I was gonna
Yeah,
say earlier was
yeah. Oh, I was just about to say that's all I had to say.
okay.
Oh God.
No worries. Okay. Um, yeah, what I was gonna say is that so I was sitting there and I just again I got so tired and I said I want to lay down and so I laid down next to the other woman and Mary's like come closer and all of a sudden I like became the other woman like I merged with her and I even felt like this chill in my body as I did that and as soon as it finished um Mary looked at me and she said now you are complete. And she again like put her hands in prayer pose and bowed. Um, yeah, that's all I have.
I'm aware as I'm walking, down this sort of hall. It has like a sort of dirt floor to it, but it's packed very nicely in these large stone, like large bits of stone, placed in it. It's it's very tan, and there's torches on the side every so often. And I'm aware as I'm walking through it that it's actually like sloping upward. So like I'm climbing up, but it's very gradual, so it's not like super steep. Um, but there's also turns, so it's almost like, but I'm aware of this rabbit there the whole time. And the rabbit's big. It's not a tiny rabbit. It's the size of like a small to medium dog. And the fur of it just seems so soft. And again, there's a feeling of something being fast forwarded. Um, Almost like the way you used to fast forward on a VCR and almost hear the sound that comes with it. I can, the feeling of like pressing the button. And I feel like I'm coming into a room that is very open and it has like tables and chairs and rows of different types of books, both modern and old, and like rolled up cylinders and things like that on shelves. And it feels like it's like some kind of library. And I'm seeing this little sheet of paper. It's like maybe the size of a business card, and they have the little pencils that you get like when you play miniature golf, the teeny tiny little pencils. But I also feel like I remember seeing this in libraries when you wanted to call a book, but it's different now, but where you would write down the call numbers you wanted, and you'd bring it and they would pull the books. I'm seeing these little sheets of paper and it has something to do with I don't know, like writing the number of what you're pulling, and I don't even know if it's a book, um but you can pull the information. You can pull the basic information you need, and then I can kind of see this sort of window in the library, and it's wild because it looks like an old-fashioned like booth where you would buy train tickets, but it's in the library and it's to call information or books or both. And it feels like it might be a stop on this train. And I entered through a labyrinth in a flower shop. And I don't know if I mentioned before, but I feel like it might be in a pyramid.
Mm. I don't remember that part. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it.
It feels really right.
And the rabbit's gone now, and I'm just standing there in front of the like booth, but none of the windows are like open. There's nobody there. There are books down on the table, and so I mean, there's access to books, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what I would call, but it's actually a very huge space. I don't know if you've ever been to the New York Public Library, but it's big like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I'm the only person there.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really nice.
It does sound nice. And as we say that, I'm aware of the sound of running water, but I don't know if it's from a faucet or like a fountain or something like that.
I was wearing my sleep mask and I'm really tired, so I can't say that I feel like 100% back in my body. But I did feel the need to take my mask off. And then Mary came and like crouched down next to me and she said, "You can rest now." And I feel like, yes, maybe she's saying like, okay, like rest, like go to sleep now, but also I feel like it's more than that. I feel like I don't know exactly what I'm resting from, but it feels much more um, significant than just going to sleep. Um, and then all of a sudden, I don't want to say threw, but kind of threw um, gold coins down around me, around like my leg area. Um, and the interesting thing is, I felt like it was her, but as she was throwing the gold coins, I also felt like it was Lakshmi at the same time. And yeah, that's all.
I'm not really sure where I went right now, but I felt like it was very like the sense of falling a little bit and something being a little spiral, and I could just see all of these sorts of like shapes and colors and sounds, but I couldn't hear the sounds. I could see them through the texture of the shapes. And there was a lot of like pinks, like dark pinks and light pinks, but they were mixed in with black and white and other sort of swirly colors. And I felt like I was maybe falling down something. Like maybe there was a hole in the floor and I don't know, I fell into it. I don't, that sounds so weird when I say it, but like I'm falling into this hole that's in the pyramid, which is like already kind of underground. Kind of like reminds me of the Alice falling down Wonderland. But now I feel like I can hear a woman singing, but I don't know that she's singing any like words, but she's not humming either, but I can hear the sound of what she's saying, not what she's saying.
Mm. It's like what I was hearing earlier.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
And in my right ear, I feel like I didn't until you said that and I was reflecting on it. I feel this sort of, it's not painful, but I feel a pressure and it almost feels like a little bit of a twisting. Um, and it's weird as I'm listening to this sort of sound, it almost feels like the right and left side of my body are like, it feels like something's balancing out or, but it's very energy, it's like, it's all energy. I feel like I'm starting to come back into my body a little bit. Um, and I feel like I know that I'm on a training uh, platform.
Mm.
It's very white. Everything's very white. The like platform, the buildings. It's a very white city. But it's weird because I feel like if I look too, I feel like I'm also still in that library. It's like one side of myself is there and the other side of myself is not. There's a sense of a duality of some sort, or an ability to focus in and see which place I'm in that I wouldn't say I want to be in, but because I don't know that it's about want, but just whatever is. I feel really confused by what I just said. But there's a feeling of waiting in both places. Like I'm in the library waiting for the ability to call the book, and I'm on the train. I'm on the platform waiting for the train. And in either case, it's like I don't know where I'd be going on the train, and I don't know what book or what information I'd be calling.
I feel like somehow you don't need to know that information right now. I feel like when
Yeah,
the time is right, yeah, it'll be presented to you.
but it feels like the act of the waiting or the act of being aware of the information coming is like
Mm.
is enough. Like that's very important too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's almost like I feel like there's something like it's enough to be bought there, and what will be revealed or shown will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost feel like they're saying like what we need to do is to bring people there, like to
Mm-hmm.
take them there by train or to take them there by the doors we go through or whatever steps we went through. Each of us went through different steps to get somewhere, but we got there, and there was parallels and
Mm-hmm.
similar things in places, but it wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting something like I'm hearing like a bridge keeper, which is funny. There was no bridges, but they said train keeper, gatekeeper, doorkeeper. Okay, but bridge keeper. Well, bridges go over water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely feeling very slowly I came back to my body, but I'm nearly there.
Mm-hmm. And definitely, definitely back.
Thank you, Spirit, for everything that you shared with us today and showing us. Thank you, Mary, for the places you brought us, the visions that you've shared with us. Thank you to the rabbit and the trains and the labyrinths and the oceans, the water in the clawfoot tub and the women that were integrated with, for everything. We are deeply thankful and eternally grateful for everything that's been revealed to us. And we will work to continue to honor and listen to what you have shared with us, and to do our best to understand and to integrate this information and to honor the role of bridge keeper or whatever we need to do to better understand ourselves, your words, and our path forward. We ask for your help and guidance in the coming days to integrate this message, to fully and deeply understand it. And we ask to be filled with the eternal love and light of Source. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with this, the sacred circle is closed.
Thank you.